Welcome everybody to the Heart Coherence Collaborative. Today we have a very amazing interview for you all that we're really excited about. We're going to dive into the topic of channeling, THEO, archangels, so many cool things. So Leah's going to read Sheila Gillette's bio, and then we're going to dive in.
Okay. Sheila Gillette is a direct voice medium for THEO, a best-selling author, speaker, and spiritual teacher. A near-death experience in 1969 marked the beginning of Sheila's psychic experiences, the culmination of which saw her become the channel for 12, I feel like I'm going to pronounce this wrong, archangelic beings.
You did it perfectly.
Good. Collectively known as THEO. While channeling was anything but mainstream at the time, Sheila's unwavering devotion to spreading the transformational wisdom of THEO has remained steadfast to this day. Since then, hundreds of thousands of people across the globe have received life-changing guidance from THEO via Sheila's in-person events, online programs, intensive retreats, and books. Welcome, Sheila.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's so good to be with you. And to be with your listeners and viewers. This is just a treat for me. Thanks.
Well, we would love to learn more. I'm sure our listeners would love to learn more about you and your journey to this point and kind of how this all unfolded.
Sure. Well, a long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
In a galaxy far. In 1969, I had a near-death experience. And I was in the hospital and in intensive care. I just had a baby and I had pulmonary embolus after the birth, which are blood clots that go into the lungs and damage the vessels in the lungs, and your lungs fill with fluid. And so my lungs were not functional. I was really drowning, actually. I felt as if I had an elephant sitting on my chest. And I couldn't breathe. I had just a tiny space in my right lung that was functional. And my family was being prepared that I wouldn't live through the day. They didn't have the ventilators like they have today. And so they were giving me anticoagulants, but they weren't giving me any more drugs because it would counteract the effects of the anticoagulants, would stop the clotting. So I was totally aware of what was going on. I was laying in the bed in the little cubicle in intensive care, and I just kept saying, hey, God, give me a job. I knew if I closed my eyes, I wouldn't open them again. And I had 2 little kids at home, and I had a brand new baby. And I said, I want to be on this planet. I want to be their mom. And so I just, like a mantra, kept repeating that, not out loud, but in my mind, God, give me a job. I'll do anything to stay here. And as I did that, the room got really bright, as if the sun had risen in the room itself. And there was movement at the end of my bed. And when I focused on it, Jesus was standing there. Well, you can imagine when you see Jesus standing with you, and, I was like, oh, okay. But I was so mesmerized by him. And his face, he had a beautiful face, as you can imagine, and auburn hair. All the pictures I had seen in statues in Catholic churches and Episcopal churches were blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesuses. This was not a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus. Beautiful hazel eyes. I mean, as I talk to you, I can see that face. His eyes were mesmerizing. And when he looked at me, he smiled. And then he took his arms and crossed them like this inside the garment that he had on, which had big, deep sleeves. And when he did that, I heard in my inner mind hearing, as we hear our own voice, I heard a distinct male voice say to me, remember, my child, you are loved. And at that point, I felt as if my crown had opened up in this warm, I liken it to warm honey, because you know how slowly that seeps down in a cup or whatever. Well, I felt that inside me. I felt as if this warmth was just going through every cell of my body. And as it went through the trunk of my body, I felt as if I could take a deep breath. And I started getting better. My lungs started clearing. The doctors were amazed. I was in the hospital for about a month after this event. And when I got home about 6 months later, when I could hold the energy, I started having all kinds of psychic phenomena happening internally and externally. I could hear message clairaudiently, like I heard Jesus's voice that day. I could do automatic writing. I had physical experiences where when spirit wanted to talk to me or write, the chair in which I was sitting would physically shake. And my bed levitated one night. And the angels knew that I needed this kind of confirmation that I wasn't making this stuff up, right? Because it was so extraordinary. And then in about 2 weeks, it was about a 2-week transformation, and my body was being adjusted inwardly with frequencies. And I tranced spontaneously and became a direct voice trance medium, or because channeling wasn't even being discussed. It wasn't a word used in this genre of work. And I didn't know anybody that knew anything about it, except I found a book about Edgar Casey. And I read it and I thought, oh my gosh, this is what's happening to me. And it was an incredible transition, which continues today. And I started working with individuals, and then I worked with scientists who tested me for my psychic ability. But I was getting information I couldn't possibly have even conceived of that is coming true today. So it's been this evolution of teaching, really. You know, we talk about psychic readings. That's different than spiritual teaching. And THEO, the group of 12 archangels, are spiritual teachers. They're here to assist us in this consciousness shift that's happening. And I know you're a part of that. And that's what they spoke to me about all those years ago. So for 5 decades now, THEO's been teaching and evolving us to this time. And it's been very organic and continuous. And I've worked with a lot of people who've opened up to their own channeling, such as Esther Hicks. I mentored her and others, and it's been a wonderful part of my journey to be a part of that as well.
I'm always so interested in near-death experiences, and I feel like there's some themes, but people have different ones, and it can be related to the religion that they grew up with. So I'm curious, what was your spirituality or religion before this happened, and how dedicated were you to it?
You know, I grew up having parents who were Episcopalians, Catholic. My grandmother was Catholic, but we didn't go every Sunday. I wanted to go, but we didn't go every Sunday. But my parents would take me and drop me and it wasn't about the dogma of the church. I just liked the church. I liked the environment of the sanctuary and meditation. And, as a little kid, I didn't pay attention to the words much, and they did believe in angels, and I believed in magic. And, unfortunately, I grew up in a family that was believers in reincarnation. And my grandmother, I know, was a healer. She didn't call herself that, but I know from the experiences I had with her. And my mom had 2 sisters, and she and her sisters, they'd always talk about fun things like, reincarnation, being queens in their last life, and all kinds, and then they'd laugh. And so it was always an acceptable conversation, which was unusual in the 50s and 60s when I was growing up. So I felt comfortable talking to them about it. And I think we all do have psychic experiences in our lives, especially when we're little and oftentimes told not to. But so I had things like that I think are normal intuitive experiences. But after this happened, nothing to the degree of what's happened in my life since my near-death experience. And to your curiosity of near-death experiences, there is an association of near-death experience studies. And there's like a list of 12 things that most people have, some of them, not all of them, which I did. And I have been fortunate to communicate with some of the researchers in near-death experience studies, and to affirm, I call my experience, even though we say near death, I think it's easy because most people have heard of that, but I really feel like I had a miraculous healing. I had the bright light, I had a deity come, I had, these are things that are in there. And to your point, to whatever religion or belief system that people have, usually their experiences align with that, because I think it's psychologically and emotionally comfortable. But then I have always been curious about every religion. So I enjoyed going to a Catholic church. I liked the pomp and circumstance of the priests and as they came in and all of that celebration. But I wasn't a dogmatic person. And my parents allowed me to go and visit other churches with friends of mine that I grew up with that were of other religious beliefs. So I did start my education early out of my own curiosity, but I've always been spiritual.
Well, so my mind is actually already blown into a million pieces, and I have so many questions that I want to ask you, but there's something that you mentioned really early on in this conversation that I want to talk about because I think it's so important. You're talking about being on death's doorway, and you're like sincerely asking God for help, like help me, help me. And my experience in my life is when I pray sincerely for a higher power, whatever it is, please put people in my life that I can help. They show up. And it has to do with the sincerity of my asking. And so I'm curious if you believe that is true, and if you also believe that that is how angels come through. Is it like this relationship where you need to sincerely be asking them, like, hey, I want to experience you, or will they come to you if you're not open?
Well, they're just standing in the wings waiting to be asked. It's what I believe.
Okay.
And, I often say, had God given me a roster of positions to take for a job, I don't know that I would have chosen this one. Because back then, people were afraid of it. It wasn't something I openly talked about. I didn't go into social situations and say, guess what I can do? Because people would have been afraid of me. And still today, some are. But that, to your point, asking, yes. And that's the way the law of attraction works. Manifestation works. You make a decision for it and say, I'm open and receptive. They're not going to usurp your free will unless your guardian has to step in and save your life and it's not your time to go. But and there, it's usually more than one that's there waiting to help you when you ask. And to your statement about sincerity, absolutely. But I think when we have that sincerity, it lets, and it's in the ask. THEO always says, in the asking it is given. And they're there to assist us with everything. They say every question that we have, we might judge them as frivolous or maybe not important because they're not the big, humongous questions of the world, But every person's question is important, they say. They're not frivolous. And if they're asked, it says you're open to receive.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, this is reminding me of, I'm from a very Catholic family on my mom's side, and I was always told this story that I loved about this woman who her little baby was dying, and she said to God, if you let this baby live, I will take in any child that comes that needs help. And she ended up with like 55 kids that she took care of. So it kind of reminds me of in your moment where you're saying, give me a job. I think you're really, I know that you were a young mother when this happened. So I'm sure you have this feeling of, I need to stay here for my kids and like, give me a job. So can you make a bargain with God like that?
You know, I don't call it a bargain. I call it a commitment.
Yeah.
I think that's different.
Mhm.
You know, at the time when I was asking, I might have thought it was a bargain.
Yeah. Right.
But it was to the point of sincerity. It was certainly sincere.
Yeah.
So, and it's been an amazing journey. It really has, and it continues to be so with the waves of awakening that have happened for the human species that I've been able to witness over all these years. People coming into that awareness in themselves, having their own personal experiences of connection. You know, we're never disconnected. It's just the old paradigms, the old belief systems that have been for thousands of years passed along are changing now. Because THEO says this is the second coming. You know, people talk about it's in us. We are the ones to express this wisdom now, each and every one of us in our own way. However, it's our way of creativity, let's say. So it's an amazing time to be alive and to be experiencing our God-gifted, our own abilities. Because we trust most in our own beliefs, don't we? We trust in our own experiences. And so, of course, the evolution of consciousness is for us to be more aware of what that is, because our soul's bigger than this earth suit, these bodies. And we are spiritual beings. We are souls having a human experience. It's not the other way around. And that it's our given right, if you would, to be open and receptive to the guidance, but also our higher knowing that the fifth dimension that THEO talks about that's now is this refinement of vibrational frequency and energy so that we can be more aware of the multidimensional experience of who we are. So it's amazing unfoldment. And our community is growing because people are having so many experiences. Many people are opening to channeling, but we're all channels. We're all channeling our soul's energy and the guidance that we have present in and through us, however that represents. You could be a composer and write a song and music, and you could be a writer or a painter or a sculptor or a doctor or a lawyer. However you're expressing your brilliance, your creative energy on the planet, you're channeling that through you as a gift, not only to yourself, but everybody else.
Wow. I would love some advice on how to cultivate a relationship with spiritual energy, because I'm somebody that had an experience like you had. I had this 5-dimensional pyramid come to me with an eye on it, and it was the realest thing I had ever seen, and it was this loving essence, blown away. But imagine I'm like you were, I come out of it and I start telling my friends and they're like, you're crazy. And so I was like, you know, hey, like guys, I really saw this thing. And I feel like because I was so confused, I didn't have those experiences for a while. And then when I laid low again, I started seeing pharaohs and all these different things. But I really had no idea how to cultivate this relationship. So is there any advice you have on how to,
Yeah, don't be afraid of it.
okay.
It's different, but you said yes to it,
Mm,
and nothing can do anything to you that you don't allow. You are a powerful being in your own right. And that's what Theo teaches us too. And they taught me early on. I didn't have a mentor to say, oh, this is what happens, or this is, I had to just kind of navigate it with their assistance. But what I was taught, and today they teach this to others through me, is that we have the power to say no, just like you did. We can shut it down. It won't take us over. It's like my husband Marcus, when he was really young, was having out-of-body experience, and he grew up in a very devout Catholic home and went to Catholic schools. And of course, when he was a kid, 11, 12 years old, he was told that you couldn't do that, and it was part of the devil. And so it scared him, and he kind of backed off of it because it frightened him. So I think everybody, because of however they've been taught, and and of course the different religious affiliations have taught you have to get to God through me. You can't go direct, which is false.
yeah.
It's really false. And that's been a controlling issue all along. And there's some really good stuff about it too. So I'm not defaming anybody's beliefs, except we have to go beyond them, to your point of not being afraid. And people are down on what they're not up on, meaning if they haven't had their experience, they're seeing you through the lenses they see themselves. And if they can't do that, you must be crazy, right?
Right.
And it feels a little crazy, doesn't it? I mean, it feels, because it's so extraordinary. But just know you have the power to allow it or not allow it. And like with Marcus and his out-of-body experiences, all you have to do is think body, and you're back in it. You're not going to lose your body. The soul chooses when it's time to leave, and in that evolutionary experience of an incarnation. But having out-of-body experiences, that gives us confirmation in our own experience that there's more. There's more to experience. There's more connection. God didn't stop talking to us because one of the master teachers isn't here anymore. God's talking to us every day. And if we're open to it. And that's what you ought to go to Egypt. We took a group to Egypt in October. It's amazing. It's an amazing trip. You guys should go. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's a beautiful country, beautiful people, and amazing experiences. Oh my gosh. And what you were seeing, you would have amazing experiences there.
That chills.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I actually was thinking that in this last week. I was thinking that we should go to Egypt.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is my confirmation.
Yeah, I keep getting this message that there's something to do with like this heart mission that we're on together right now that was also from Egypt, like that they were doing back in the day. So I don't know.
Well, the story is Egypt is the center of civilization. And when you go there and the people that meet you, like we took a group, and we're going to do that again. It was fantastic. And we sailed a cruise ship on the Nile, just our group, for 7 days. And we went to all the temples, and we had 2 Egyptologists with us as guides. And it was just an amazing trip. We went to the Sphinx and the Great Pyramids, and you would have an amazing trip. But when we got off the plane and they were meeting us there with our vehicles and stuff to go to the hotel, the first thing they said to us, welcome home.
Hmm.
And you go, oh gosh, that felt good.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a good trip. It's a good trip.
All right, let's go.
All right, sweet.
I wanted to talk about I feel like there's so many channels now and people are teaching courses. And I've personally been a part of probably 3 different people who, I mean, it was just actually very incorrect or just sort of a general flim flam that I could accomplish by just looking at somebody and asking them questions and making them answer, and then sort of, like the fake psychic kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So my question is, do you feel like everyone can channel, that it's an ability you can develop, or do you feel like it's a gift that a few people have, truly?
I think it's both. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that is because not everybody is supposed to be a direct voice trance channel
Yeah.
like I am. I mean, that happened to me spontaneously. And even though it looks easy as you're looking at me, there's a whole lot of stuff going on inside that people are unaware of. I know I've mentored a few people that started opening up, and it's physically, a lot of physical stuff happens that people don't know. What I would say about what you just asked is how you can discern. We all have a truth barometer in us, right?
Yes.
It's a visceral feeling. If truth is spoken to you, you feel it. I get a chill up my spine. Or your hair stands up on your arms, that kind of thing. Whether I speak it out or it's spoken to me, I know when there's truth. But if there's a consistency in a message and it's about love, I would say you could probably trust it. But if it's divergent from anything else you're learning or hearing, I go, wait a minute, there's something not working here. But everybody's channeling their soul energy. And that's what I said earlier. I mean, you might be, I talk to a lot of people who've gone into the medical field, for an example, doctors, nurses, people like that. And then they discover they have healing energies. Well, of course, their soul was inspiring them to get into that field anyway. And some already know that they have these energies running through them. But I think that our soul inspires us or directs us into the areas that we'll be channeling our energy anyway, however that expresses through us. But to your point, people, when they see something's becoming successful, some people take advantage. And that's true. That's true in every walk of life, right? We have to be the discerning ones.
Yes. Yeah, and it's humorous. It provides humor. We've had some good laughs about some channeling we've gotten, so it gave us something.
Yeah, and
Laughter's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't complain.
I'm definitely a beginner, I would say, in regards to my knowledge about this subject. So I would love just to ask the basic question of what actually is an archangel.
We've asked, and what THEO has told us, they try to give us information to fit what we know as humans, to kind of get a picture of what it is. So what they've said is we can like it in our corporate hierarchy that there's supervisors of all the legions of angels. And there's billions of them. So for lack of a better description, they've never been incarnated. They're direct voice messengers and teachers through, as THEO is, to give this new message and to people in this time of this consciousness shift. Like I said, they say this is the second coming. It's coming. We are it. And what's happening in our world, this chaos is necessary. They've been talking about this time for 5 decades. My first book, The Fifth Dimension, speaks about what's happening right now.
Mm.
And it's optimistic that all these old foundational belief systems have to crumble, and new foundation is being built through us and by us now. And even in our outer world, they talked about there would be political changes globally, there would be economic structure globally that will be stronger, there will be, like the United Nations, only stronger and more powerful, where it's collaborative, more collaborative than it's been. But all this chaos is for everything to surface and the new to come in, and we're a part of that, which is exciting. So I hope people won't be too fearful and just, get plugged into all that chaos, because they say out of the chaos will come order, and even better still. So I'm optimistic, and I have, all these decades of experience with them, of having proof and confirmation and affirmation of their message. So I'm optimistic, and I'm just daily walking that path, as you've been inspired to do, for this evolution that we're in.
It makes me curious. I know it might be odd to ascribe a gender to spiritual beings, but I feel like in the Bible, they are a male energy. Is that your experience with them, or is it a myth?
No, they're not gender specific, even though when they speak, it's very subtly, I can tell different energies, and some of the energy feels very masculine and some of it feels feminine. And you can even tell, if you listen really closely, it sounds like the same voice all the time, but you can tell different, just a different feel to it. And when I've listened back to recordings, I can tell there's a shift of who's speaking, but it's very subtle. You have to be paying attention when it happens.
I would love to know, before we dive into some questions, maybe with Theo, is where do archangels actually reside? Like from a multi-dimensional perspective, where are they? Is Earth unique in their location, or no? Okay.
No, we like to think so. Theo says there's billions of other planets that could have life on them, that the Earth is only one, and the Earth is only one choice, though a good choice. And the learning in the human experience is emotions. And to have a physical body to be able to feel that is a very precious thing. And it's a beautiful planet, right? That they say there's 12 dimensions about the Earth. Our third dimension was our physical reality. The fourth was spiritual awakening. The fifth, we're experiencing the awareness that we're more than these physical bodies, that we are souls, divine beings having a human experience. And we will experience the sixth dimension in our physicalities. The other are the etheric realms, which we'll be in touch with, like the masters always have been. And that's just this consciousness shift and connection to the multidimensional expression or experience in the universe, but of the dimensions as well.
I'm excited to ask questions. You said that you would be okay with channeling Theo.
Sure.
Thank you.
So what happens is I take a couple of deep breaths, close my eyes. I invite them in. It takes just a few seconds. I've been doing it long enough. It's very comfortable for me. And they will speak. They'll say, "This is the beginning, is it not?" And then they'll acknowledge that you have questions, and they'll say, "You may begin." And so I'll invite them in now, and then I'll talk to you after. Okay. It is the beginning, is it not? We are appreciative of the opportunity to serve. You may ask.
I would like to know what is happening when we dream, and specifically what happens when there's sleep paralysis or different things that can happen when you're dreaming.
The dream state is a powerful tool for many for information gathering. But the mind allows it to come forward in very many ways. There's guidance if one is a visual being. Oftentimes, pictures, information comes in this way, like a film. There are dreams that are clearing dreams of all the energy that has been experienced in one's life in a day or a week or a month, that the body can release that, like you would clear your computer programming when it's too full. The mind needs that clearing as well. So some dreams are clearing dreams. Others have prophetic dreams. They get information to prepare themselves for an event to come. Or most often, dreams are there in the process of your evolution, the consciousness shifts that are happening, guidance that is there, or teaching there, expanding the knowledge of your human experience. So there's different dreams, and one can decipher them by paying attention not only to the view or the picture, but the feelings are very important in disseminating your dream. You may ask,
what is the role of the heart in our connection to spirit and accessing our guides?
the heart is the seat of the soul. Many think it's the mind, and it is not. However, as the soul gives the brain life, the brain is the computer that runs that vehicle, the earth suit, and solves problems. Intelligence is important, but it is beyond that. However, the heart is where the soul resides. It's the seat of the soul. So oftentimes when one is too intellectual, it's encouraging to have them focus and drop into their heart. And that's where the soul gives them information. It is also where there is that connection of knowing. Some say it's a gut feeling, but it's a heart feeling.
I would love to know about the process of how souls come to Earth and the reincarnation process, or when that will end or stop. Just more information about the whole process of souls.
So in general, it will never end, for there will be souls continuing to want to experience the earthly plane and be in a human body on Earth. The souls choose to be here. As you have chosen this incarnation, nobody demanded it of you. And it's an exquisite choice. There's billions of souls that would like to have the human experience. It's like winning the lottery. You got a body in this time of choosing. And so if you choose not to have another lifetime on Earth, that's the soul's choice as well. It's never demanded of you to go or to not. You may ask.
I would love to hear what is going on with the collective field energy of our hearts.
That's where you're soulfully connected to one another. You can speak soul to soul when you connect to the heart. For an example, If you're having difficulty in a relationship with someone and your communication can't be clear, you can always speak soul to soul. The soul is listening, and it doesn't have the issues of the personality, because sometimes the personality doesn't have ears to hear. You may ask,
do we choose our physical body? So obviously some people are born into a disabled body, or one they might think that they wouldn't choose. Do we choose the aspects of our physicality?
yes, but when you judge another's choice as they're disabled or an invalid, you're invalidating their soul. They're just having a different life experience. And you're seeing their experiences through the lenses you see yourself. And again, if you couldn't possibly see navigating that challenge, of course there would be some judgment about that. But this time is about relinquishing judgment, because judgment has an emotional attachment to it, and observation is neutral. If you're just observing someone's challenge and saying, isn't that interesting, rather than saying, oh my gosh, that's awful, or it's horrible for them, or they can't do this, or they can't do that, that's an assumption. And it's a reflection that you couldn't see yourself doing. Yes? But some of the highest teachers choose those experiences, because the learning is never only for one, it's for everyone. You may ask?
I would love to hear you provide a message to our group. Our group is currently going through a challenge where we're all accessing our hearts for 30 days together as a collective. What can you say to our group about their efforts?
We find the word challenge interesting, because challenge is just the curriculum of life, isn't it? It's not a definition of you. And the soul chooses to challenge for that expanded growth to occur. So the challenging of connection to heart is you're encouraging people to get to know their soul and the collective connection to each other, of which is strong, and you're better together than you are apart. And you are, that's the oneness you speak about. Yes?
Yeah.
So the challenge truly is to get out of the head, because the intellect has been so celebrated and acknowledged. And to the point of not trusting the soul. So all the heartfelt experiences and connectivity and intuitive abilities are illogical. And the intellect is constantly trying to make everything logical. So you're making friends and allowing the illogical to be felt, known. That's the power of the soul. And dropping from the head to the heart is of necessity to pay attention to the guidance that is there. You may ask?
Would you like to give anything else as a message for everyone?
Understand this, that you are an integral part of the change that is now, however it expresses through you. It is significant. each and every one of you, when coming into physical life, has an awareness that you've come to be significant and express that life. Life is being lived through you and for you, not to you. And you are the creator. That is a powerful knowledge to have. And many desire to use the law of attraction or manifestation. It's a powerful tool, but you must believe in it and believe in yourself that you are worthy of a life well lived. You are complete with your asking.
Yes. Thank you.
God's love unto you. Good day.
Love unto you.
Hi there.
Thank
Hi.
you. Hi.
Thank you. That was great.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome.
I think we are complete.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to them again.
Is there anything?
Well, thank you for
add?
the
Anything to
opportunity.
support you on your journey, Sheila? Anything we can do for you?
Oh, sure. If your viewers and listeners are interested, they can find more information about THEO on asktheo.com.
Beautiful.
We have a lot going on. We have a lot going on. And if they want to be a part of the community by, putting their email in, we have some gifts for people, meditations and things, so they can have their own experience. It's been great meeting you both. It's really fun, and I wish you much success in your challenge and on your path of these events you're doing. They sound marvelous and wonderful for all of us. So much success.
Thank you so much,
Sheila.
Sheila.
You're welcome.
Good luck, everybody.
Bye, everybody.